Welcome to the ExecMBA Podcast. I'm Brett Twitty, Director of Admissions for the Executive Formats of the Darden MBA, and you are listening to a new episode. So on this episode of the podcast, I'd like to feature a conversation I recently recorded with Casey Floyd. Casey is, interestingly enough, a GEMBA alum, but she's also a Darden employee, and she is Director of Employer Engagement and Recruiting for our Career Development Center. And I thought you'd enjoy hearing a little bit more about her story, why she decided to pursue an MBA, and ultimately the work that she's doing to build relationships between Darden and employers to help facilitate the career goals for our students. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Casey Floyd. Casey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brett. I'm honored to have been invited to this.
So your story is an interesting one, right? You recently got your MBA through our executive formats, and now you get to work with employers on hiring and getting interested in hiring students here at Darden. So let's talk about your MBA journey first. What prompted you to come back to school to get an MBA?
Well, Brett, I would say I'm probably one of the unique folks that came to Darden because when I started working here, I actually had an MBA from a small school, unranked, and kind of had no idea what I was getting into. I just knew I needed this accreditation or certificate to move forward and not be stopped. But I started working here at Darden and realized what a ranked business school was all about, what case learning was all about, and really found out what the alumni network was all about, and just actually was baffled by how impressive it was, and kind of did some convincing and arm twisting to say, you know what, I would like to do this again at Darden. And so I was thankful to spend the 2 years in the GEMBA program and have my second one, but the most meaningful MBA I could ask for.
Sure. I get questions from prospective students all the time, EMBA versus GEMBA. How do people think through this? And how did you think through it? How did you ultimately decide on the GEMBA format? Yeah,
great question. I do think I was, again, kind of going back to that I had an MBA before, and so similar executive format. But the opportunity to take this on the road and go across the world and be on location learning was just an experience I couldn't pass up. I keep thinking back to learning about distribution and supply chain in India when we're talking to the, head of Coca-Cola. Like when you're there, that's just an experience you can't put forth in a traditional classroom. And so, it was pretty easy to make that decision.
Yeah, and your version of GEMBA is slightly different than the version that we have now. 6 2-week residencies, right? Start here in the United States and went to some of the same locations, though, Brazil, China, Western Europe, India. And then also you got to spend time in San Francisco too, right?
Yes.
Which was it sounded like a cool trip. What were the highlights for you and your classmates?
In San Francisco?
Or anywhere, really.
And anywhere. Yeah. Well, I'll start with San Francisco. I think one of the great experiences there was we all had to kind of work on our own business plan, and we got to pitch in front of actual VCs. Mm-hmm. And so it was just that great opportunity to try to put the team together and pitch a business and get that real Shark Tank-like feedback, which was really exciting. Kind of highlighted that experience in India where you're kind of walking the streets and really thinking about how do you distribute a product. And then, China, when you're thinking about the business and the differences between government and the different play across how to operate and run organizationally or a global enterprise. Anyway, the experience were just amazing. And meeting different business leaders across the world and how they operate in different locations. And
there's a special connection that comes when you spend that much time with your classmates traveling and getting outside your comfort zone and being in some of these places. Talk about maybe the relationship that you developed with.
Absolutely. So some of my best friends are my alum classmates now, just because there were so many locations that we all went together that no one had ever been. Even though I had folks from the military that had traveled the world, there were places that we went that people had never experienced before. So when you're building those new experiences together, it definitely creates a bond. We are all pretty much still in touch to this day. So working on a year and a half, almost 2 years later, where we try to see each other once or twice a year, already thinking about where's our reunion going to be and how are we going to take it on the road. We just had our classmate from Kenya come and visit the States and had an opportunity to see everyone. So and it's constant. We're on Facebook or we share memories of being in the program, and it's just really, really awesome to be that connected.
I was impressed with you and your classmates, how quickly you planned your sort of class reunion. I heard there was already people thinking about a ski trip. You're talking about it at graduation, which is always fun to see.
Yeah.
I mean, because the question in executive formats is, do you really get to know your classmates? Can you really build a network in the same way that students in our residential full-time format are able to do because they're all here in Charlottesville? But your experience would suggest yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. We did do that ski trip. Mm-hmm. I had my ACL repaired because of that ski trip. So the experiences continue after graduation. I was just in DC for work and had an opportunity to see two of my classmates, one a new mother of like 4 weeks. And so that is just consistent. I mean, we're all one big happy family, and we're constantly, we still have our 2017 GEMBA WhatsApp that I have messages on daily. Kind of our study buddy learning team group still messages or occasionally has a work conflict or a challenge and throws that out there. So yeah, it's one of those things where we're friends for life, and we kind of are supporting each other in that way.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the work you're currently doing. You've had a variety of roles here at the Darden School. You've worked in exec ed and executive education, and now you're with the CDC. Talk about your job and what your goals are. How do you measure success in what you're doing?
Absolutely. So I kind of think of myself as being in this mini leadership development program at Darden because I've worked in almost every department. I haven't come to admissions yet, Brett. So
we'd love to have you help out.
But I've been in this new role in the Career Development Center for a little over a year. Started right before graduation. And it was this great merriment between having an industry background and experience and working with companies to having been a student and kind of integrating a little bit in the career services arena. And so the opportunity to lead employer engagement and recruiting in the center was fantastic and kind of put all of my strengths and desires together. I'm very fortunate. I get to work with probably a little over 150 companies that want to engage and recruit Darden talent in various ways. I have an awesome team that I get to inspire, hopefully, every day that are very passionate about what they do. And really, our big goal is to create an experience that employers want to continue to come back. Of course, it's talent war out there, and there's so many different schools and places that they can find talent. So how do we create that experience, build an ROI for them so that they want to recruit from Darden is number one. And number two is just to really find and foster the relationships to build those opportunities for students. So I'm constantly trying to figure out where are companies hiring and how do we get those in front of students. And just came off of a call with AutoZone right before this podcast. So I'm constantly talking to new companies that haven't been engaged. And so it's a lot of fun. So
employer relations can sound really abstract to people, but it also sounds like a lot of what you're doing is reaching out and talking to people about Darden and the student that's here and what you get when you hire a Darden student. What's your perception of these companies' perceptions of the school and the students that are here? How do they think about us?
Yeah. So they know, of course, being a top-ranked business school, that we've done – Brett, you've done a fantastic job of sourcing the students here. So you've kind of done that first wave of evaluation. And so in general, I think employers are just very excited. They are more interested to know, like, how do I connect with those students and build a relationship and figure out, are they the right fit? And so for the most part, and having been in the program and being able to talk about faculty and cases and just how we learn is really a nice element to kind of seal the deal. But then it's how do we get them engaged to make it meaningful, right? So some companies might not be able to have a budget to fly here a bunch in order to see students in person. So really trying to foster new ways of engaging in recruiting virtually, postings and showcasing those to our students, finding alums at the companies, which is always great. That's the easiest way to get in, right? Alums are always willing to do you a favor. And just, again, kind of growing that even from a new company. Hey, let's try a few small things. It only takes one hire, and for a student or an alum to go in and do fantastic work, and then they want more. So it's an easy foundation to build on.
Yeah, we just had a showcase for prospective students here on Monday, and Jeff McNish, who leads the CDC, was talking about how much employers value soft skills, right, and how much desire there is for people who can work well with others and communicate their ideas and think critically and all these kinds of things that I think Darden gives someone a real opportunity to do and to develop over their time here. Is that what you're hearing too? Does that align well with your experience?
Absolutely. EQ, and just in general, is a top trait. Most companies are, hey, you can teach the skills and competencies around data analytics or another software or things of that nature. But it is how you work in teams, because a lot of these organizations are very team and collaborative based. And I think Darden does a fantastic job through the learning team, through the club experiences, the ways you integrate on projects. Just the entire experience here is built around making sure that you have those competencies around EQ and working with others, because ultimately it all comes down to those leadership skills, which if you ask most alums, like, what would you focus on more? Time and time again, I hear that I wish I would have focused more on those LO classes or what are those leadership classes, because that's really what's driving my business now and where I have to focus. So.
And obviously you get a lot of practice with that in the executive format. So
yes.
2 leadership residencies, you get leading organizations, and there's so many micro opportunities to practice leadership, whether it's in a class setting or a learning team, right? So we always stress that the learning team, you establish the norms for the learning team. You manage the team collectively. It's a flat organization. Nobody's quote unquote in charge.
Right.
So how do you work through that? It's a leadership exercise.
Yeah. And over the 21 months, you do have challenges in working with a learning team, especially if you have 6 people that are very different in how they accomplish tasks and prepare for class to work on projects. So you do get – I had those experiences anyway.
I think most people do, right? Particularly executive formats, everybody's really busy.
Right.
Right. So for different people at different times, school may not necessarily be the number one priority, depending on what you have going on in your life. We always tell people this, that you're really juggling 3 things, maybe more, like work, life, and school. And so at different points in your journey here, work may be the priority, personal stuff may be the priority, and school may be the priority, but you lean on the other people in your class.
Absolutely.
For sure. So what's energizing to you as you think about, your job? Like, what's a really great day for you?
So a great day for me has a couple things involved in it. One, I really get charged by having conversations with companies and being able to talk about Darden and come away with a win, right? So I'll give you another example. I had a really great call with LinkedIn yesterday and their recruiter. And so I leave those conversations really excited. One, that we made the connection with a top organization that people want to work for. 2, I now understand how they recruit and get talent. And 3, I've built a relationship that we can start small and get these opportunities in front of our students. That, to me, I walk away of like, yes, I did my job, and that's really exciting. I would say second to that is working with my team to do things differently and to think about just how to build on the engagement with their employers and definitely not do things the way we've always done them, right? And so when we do something different and we come away and was like, that worked really well, and everyone's excited and charged about it, that's also really exciting. Just because recruiting is a process and it's pretty cyclical. So however we can think to make it exciting and more engaging, also walk away with that was a good day or that was a good event or employees are happy. Students are happy, right? Students are like, I got the job. Like that's the other thing too, is kind of being able to see that whole employer came in, they wanted talent. You see students that want to go work there, and then you hear that they landed the job, and next thing you know, the student brings in a thank you card or something from Hershey's because they landed the job at Hershey's, right? And so it's just really, really awesome, and that's a good day.
So we have more executive format students than ever who are potentially interested in leveraging their MBA experience to transition, to make a change. This is sort of a growing trend. And it's true here. I think it's true at other executive MBA programs too, particularly those that have resources for students who want to transition. What would you want somebody who's in that boat, thinking about, gosh, coming back to school, maybe I want to change function or industry. What would you want him or her to know about the resources and support that's available here? Yeah,
that's a great question. I would say when I was a student, I had those same thoughts around, you're coming toward the end of the program and you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I feel the pressure, like I got to make this degree pay off. One of the things that I'm excited about now that it's about 2 years since I've been in the program is to see the changes and the innovations that we're making as a career center to really try to provide opportunities for those students in the executive format. I know myself and my team team, when we're talking to companies and we see whether it's a posting come in or their request to be on grounds come in, we're constantly following up to say, hey, did you check the box to be interested in this population as well? And here are the benefits of that. So we're constantly trying to make that top of mind. So we're building the companies that would like to look at our executive format students because, of course, as a true testament, I think that is a valuable group. Definitely had the same experience as a residential program and may be definitely wanting to explore new opportunities. And sometimes the employers is just letting them understand the profile and what they're looking for, because there is this old school mentality that, oh, it's an executive format. They have too much experience. They're going to want the SVP job at our organization, and that's not what we're coming to Darden to hire for. So it's really kind of taking that myth and saying it's changed. You know, there's a wide array of an age range and experience levels. And so it's just a really nice group to tap in and into. And I'm like, hey, why not come to Darden and recruit 300, recruit 450, right? Like, you know, your numbers are better. So definitely a lot of work going into that space. I know the career advisors have worked on the education in career and really helping students be ready to go and be in front of employers prepared and able to tell their story and show their resume and interview well. So it's really exciting.
No, that is one of the things. I mean, on-grounds recruiting is not necessarily the right fit for everyone.
Correct.
But it could be a fit and something that students have access to in the second year of the program. And the consistent theme, we talked with a number of the career folks on the podcast, the consistent theme is we work with students individually to help each student understand what resources might make sense given their profile, the kind of jobs that they're seeking. And we've had some students have success through on-grounds recruiting, typically earlier stage career. We range from 5 to 30 plus years, but my anecdotal impressions, typically people with maybe 7, 8 years of work experience. It might be a little bit more senior than that, but their experience profile may be a little bit closer to that for our typical, full-time residential student than our typical exec student. Our average exec student typically has 11 to 12 years of experience.
Right.
So,
and the good news is, like you said, the resources are there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got, if I remember before I walked in, over 1,200 postings that are active in our system. So it's how do we build the skill set for you to network for life and really build on that to get the entry point into an organization. They may not be here, but that's the whole point. I know I got into Darden from a networked experience. So really being able to say, hey, what do you want to do and how do we get you there? And that's the customized experience that we want to have in the Career Center. Yeah,
that's such a great point because we stress repeatedly with our executive format students that it is going to be more than likely about a networked search. And how do you do that? What does it look like? It's time intensive, right? It's you look at something like on-grounds recruiting, and it's like, oh man, I just dropped my resume, or like, and then they look at it and maybe invite me to an interview. That sounds way easier than a conversation to a conversation to a conversation.
Yeah.
But I
it's
think
the easy button.
Yeah, it's the easy button, but it's maybe not the right button, right?
Exactly.
So that's what we always talk with prospective students about. Particularly when you're looking for a more experienced hire. The way that those typically go is, they have a posting. That company may start by asking people internally, who do you know that might be a good right fit? It might be a good fit for this. And so that's where the networking starts to pay off.
Absolutely.
And so, all right. Covered a lot of ground here. What's one thing you would want a prospective student, looking at the executive formats to know about Darden?
Wow, there's so many things. Where would I start?
We can do more than one thing. We can do a couple things.
One is, I think, just in general, the foundational experience in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and with your peers. There's so many things to learn. The faculty are amazing, right? It doesn't matter. You can send them an email at any point in time as an alum. They're going to respond to you. And just built on that, the learning you get, the network you start building with just the class. I can't. I'm kind of speechless because it's so amazing. The skills that you learn, that you end up thinking differently, right? What I value is what I started as a person at the beginning of the program, and where I feel like I am after graduation. I think very differently about things. You think broader. You think more strategic.
Yeah.
You tackle problems very differently, and that yourself, when you can feel your individual grow, is really exciting too. And so, and then I guess because I came into this program with a 1.5-year-old son, and, thinking about having a full-time job and having to sell this to, my husband that I was going to be gone quite a bit over 2 years, was challenging, and to think about, right, of how do you tackle this as a mom, as part of a family, as, part of having a job. And everyone throughout the program was like, how are you doing this? I don't understand. I feel like I had more time in the program than I have now, which is really weird. I thought I was going to get all this time back.
Yeah.
But it was totally doable, right? You figure out what the routine is. I always say you put your priorities first. Things may drop, but guess what? If they drop and they don't rise to the top, they probably want a priority to begin with. And it was all about kind of going back to the network, like what is my support network around that? My husband was a trooper. He actually got the graduation present when I graduated because he was awesome. I got to talk more to my son about going different places and having a globe and showing him things. And now I want to take him to the places that I got to experience. But you just build a schedule, right? Yeah. Saturdays were my day, right? They went and did their thing. I studied. You figure out your learning team. You figure out when you gotta you juggle. And so anyway, I would just say that's my number one. Like, it's doable regardless of where you are in your life. This experience is so invaluable. It's not worth passing off.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Many of the prospective students I'll talk to will ask that of their parents, moms and dads, but moms in particular will ask the question, like, how do you make this time commitment work? Because, you're already really busy. And then you think about school, but, what you just said suggests that it can be done. Right. But it's all about the people around you. We've had people have babies while they're in the program,
yes.
Right? Which is amazing. Moms and people become moms, people become dads while they're in the program. But I think people always really take a step back and sort of just you realize all of your classmates have a lot on their plate. Everybody's juggling a lot while doing this program, but the 21 months flies by. Right. And it's over before you even know it. I'm always amazed by how quickly people reach the midpoint in this program. It feels like they just started, and then now they're almost about to start electives. Yeah. And it's like, wait, you're graduating? How did this happen? So I'm so glad you brought up that point.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, just to echo what you said, I mean, one of my best friends out of the program had 3 small children under the age of 4. Another classmate had a child, was traveling with the baby to one of our residencies, with some family in tow. But, everyone, again, you're pulling together, you're covering where you can. People were getting promotions, taking on bigger roles and responsibilities while they were in the program. And those are just things you celebrate together. You have one another's back, and you think about it. It's just like a job, right? Like, at some point you have kids, you start a family, you get promoted, and you just kind of have to juggle and shift things around. And I think it's just that life experience that you go through, and it does go through fast. It's kind of painful while you're in it, doing accounting and finance and stuff at the same time. But the next thing you know, you turn around and you're like, oh my gosh, I survived.
That's right.
And I learned so much. And that was great. I can do anything.
Well, Casey, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, thank you for the invite. This is great.
And that was my conversation with Casey Floyd, a member of our Career Development Center and Director for Employer Engagement and Recruiting. So, of course, as always, if you have comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we are all ears. We welcome your feedback. We can be reached at exec, that's ExecMBA at darden.virginia.edu. And until next time, thanks for listening.